Hi, my name is Jacob and I'm here to talk to you about IMTA, the International Model and Talent Association, as long as one of their recruiters, Gia. So I live about 30 miles outside of Boston, and this past Saturday I was planning on going to an open call in Boston at 1 p.m. And I actually saw on my cousin's Facebook feed that she shared with her sister about how they are looking for Disney stars in Boston at 3, so I figured two birds, one stone, I might as well go to this one too. So I go to the first open call, easy peasy, no big deal, and then it's time for me to go to the Hilton, which is about 5 or 6 blocks away. So I walk there and there's a line wrapped around the building, and so I get in line and wait there for about an hour until they open the doors. Gia and her associate open up a dining hall and have us all go and sit down in it while handing out applications for us to fill out. She also hands out commercials that we're supposed to memorize that include topics such as lifesavers, Pepsi, and a Toyota Celica. At this point, Gia gets up in front of everyone and grabs everyone's attention and stands on a podium. She begins to talk about all of IMTA's history and their success stories. So if you don't know, because I didn't know, IMTA is a giant convention in New York City and Los Angeles. It happens twice a year, once in July and once in January. And this convention takes a bunch of talented individuals and puts them on display for modeling, acting, singing, songwriting, all the different arts, puts them on stage and allows them a platform to be seen by various Hollywood producers. Or really, I should say, Hollywood producers and agencies. Gia also mentioned how they had been in Boston all week and they interviewed about 1,400 different people. And of the 1,400 people, only 60 were going to be getting second auditions, and of those 60, only 20 were going to be going to California. She also makes sure to tell everyone that we need to turn off all of our electronic devices that have cameras because it's 2018 and you can't take pictures in public because there's a possibility where someone else's minor child will be in the photos. And in order for her to keep her job, she would need all of us to sign release forms. And there's no possibility that all of us brought release forms. In my opinion, Gia didn't want cameras because she was trying to keep a low profile. But thanks to the internet, I did manage to find her personal Facebook, which is where I found these photos of her. Gia then goes on to list various Nickelodeon and Disney Channel TV shows and has the crowd scream, especially the children scream when they hear a show that they know. I go to various open calls and auditions around the Boston and New York area. And so usually at these events, there are 3 types of workers representing whatever TV show or is going on. And there's usually 3 types. There are workers that keep everybody in line and quiet. There are judges, and then there's the crew that films everything. However, at this IMTA event, Gia and her associate are the only 2 people represented by the company. So Gia and her associate have us get in 2 lines, one for her to judge and one for her associate to judge. And again, usually judges are very professional, they're very soft-spoken, and all they gotta tell you is whether you made it or you didn't make it. Gia, on the other hand, was yelling across the dining hall, yelling to kick people out, and just yelling to have people be quiet. And so here I am, waiting in line, and so I decide to talk to the people behind me. It's 17-year-old Puerto Rican David. He has a mustache, and he's there with his immigrant father. And he's speaking to both of us in Spanish. So after I was done talking to David, I turned around and started to watch some more auditions, and a 10-year-old girl was going up to audition with her mother. And this 10-year-old girl begins singing a track from Moana. Gia interrupts this girl mid-song and tells her that she should have chosen a song that was more contemporary, that was hip-hop, rap, R&B, or something along the lines of Beyonce related. Even though that in 2013, Frozen, the soundtrack, sold 7 million units, and in 2017, Moana sold 1.2 million units. Not to mention, this is supposedly a Disney event. So it should be completely okay for a 10-year-old to sing a song from a Disney movie. And sure enough, the time comes where it's my turn to audition. And I go up and strut my stuff. Gia then goes on to ask me a bunch of personal information. And what's really interesting is that she's only looking for one piece of information. She just wants to know if you are committed to spending the $6,000 that it will cost to go to Los Angeles if you make callbacks. I didn't expect to get a callback, so I was just like, oh yeah, I can totally pay the $6,000, no problem. I can go to IMTA 2019, December 31st until January 8th, 2019. So I get home and I'm waiting by the phone, expecting a phone call whether I made callbacks or not. And instead of a call, I actually get a text message from Gia's personal cell phone number. Now in the text message, she congratulates me and asks me if I have more questions and to come back for a second audition the next day at 3:15. At this point, I begin to question IMTA's validity, and I basically say to myself, you know what, I'm not spending $6,000 to get shown up by a bunch of people that have been training their entire lives. So I'm going to go to the audition, but I'm going to go because there was a bunch of cute girls at the audition the day before, so maybe some of them made it through and I'd be able to talk to them. So I get back to Boston, go back to the Hilton, and I'm told that the event is going on the 3rd floor for second auditions. So I go up to the 3rd floor and it's just basically a regular hotel floor. And there's only 2 rooms being used. The room that Gia is in, doing callbacks, and the room that her partner is, that he is also doing callbacks. I sign in, which was really sloppy. The people did not have any of my information, even that I was like a callback. So I had to tell them my name, my time, and who I was meeting with. They then proceed to hand me a commercial sheet and say that I have to practice this because I'm going to be performing it for Gia. I also see David and his father, and David now doesn't have a mustache and his father is dressed down. He's got a full suit on. And so they start talking to me, and I'm talking to them and we're practicing together. And one of the topics is which plan I am thinking about doing. There are 3 levels. There's level 1. It costs $2,000. You stay locally and you get commercials and advertising in the city that you are currently in. There's level 2, which is $5,995, where you basically are given the option to go to Los Angeles or New York City, depending on what time of year it is, because IMTA is hosted twice. And then there's level 3, which costs $9,995. You are reserved a spot in New York City or Los Angeles, and you get to meet with Hollywood producers personally instead of having them watch you. Also, as a side note, level 2 and 3 do not include travel fare, hotels, or transportation in Los Angeles. So I tell David and his father, I'm not spending a dime at this place. And so I return the question. I'm like, so what about you? What are you guys planning on doing? And David and his father said that $6,000 was too much money, and so that they were going to be spending the $2,000 and staying locally. So now at this point, it's David's turn to go in with Gia and basically audition. And I'm so busy studying the sheet that I just lose track of time and I don't see David leave. And then they start calling my name. So then I go in with Gia. And so I walk into this hotel room, which is really like a conference room, with the expectation that there's going to be a bunch of other workers there. There's going to be casting, there's going to be crew, there's going to be video recording, all this stuff. And when I walk in there, it's just Gia and I sitting around a huge table. She starts asking me a bunch of questions and I start answering them. And then she's like, oh, do you have any questions? And so I start asking her a few questions. So she asks me if I looked up IMTA online. And I said, yeah. And she says, you saw a lot about how we're a scam. And I was like, oh yeah, I saw some of that stuff. And then she goes off on a tangent for the next 5 or 6 minutes about how IMTA is not a scam, and she mentions the word scam in every other sentence, which really raised a few concerns with me, because I was like, all right, these are definitely some red flags that are being thrown up, and it's not just one, it's like a bunch. I tell her about my concern about how I saw online that a bunch of people that go to these events are schooled their entire lives for IMTA. And she says that there's nothing to worry about because all she's looking for is raw talent. Also, most open calls that I've been to and auditions, the people are just so busy with other people and talking about what they're doing and expecting you to audition that they don't have time to talk about whether they're a scam or not, and they don't even mention the word scam. Gia then goes on to say how she likes how I ask a lot of questions, that others don't ask any, and I should trust my gut feeling. She says that others, even that day, were not even reading the contract that they were signing, and they were just signing on the dotted line. No problem. Gia told me that she actually kicked some people out because she didn't want them just blindly trusting any random person. She then decides to tell me about the previous person who auditioned, David, and how his father was trying to throw the credit card at her, and she refused and said that she would only give them the $2,000 local commercial. When I had spoken to them collectively over the past 2 days for around 3 hours to know that they were not going to do that and that they were only going to be doing the $2,000 option. Gia also mentions how the day before, when David had auditioned, she told him after that his mustache made him look like Hitler, which would explain why when I showed up for the second audition, David did not have a mustache. This raised even more concern because no professional should be telling a minor that they look like Hitler. And also, David's father explicitly expressed to me that they were only interested in the $2,000 one. At this point, I realize that Gia is 100% hustling people, and I let her know that I am not going to be attending IMTA. And as I said that, she claims to get a text message and checks her phone from her associate. Gia also informed me that they're only allowed to take a certain amount of people per age group, and says that there's only one slot available for my age group. And I wasn't the only person auditioning for my age group, but that spot was mine, even though I had not even auditioned yet that day. And so I said to her, just give it to the other guy. She then asks me why I'm wasting her time and why I'm wasting my own time. And she says, you know what, perform for me anyways. And I'm like, all right. So I go and do my performance. She says I'm a natural, and if I don't sign up for IMTA 2019, then I won't be able to apply until 2022. So I'm like, you know what? Let me waste a little more of her time. So I begin to ask her about how many callbacks that people that perform at IMTA in 2018 got. And she said that 98.3% of people got 12 callbacks. She also claimed that years prior, people actually got around 20 callbacks. But in 2018, IMTA was invaded by the Chinese and they stole a lot of the work. I basically say thank you for your time, and she tells me that if there's anything I ever need to message her because I have her personal cell phone number. Now that's the end of the story, but it's not really the end of where its craziness actually occurs. Now I'm gonna let you know, okay? I am 3 months away from having my bachelor's degree in information technology. And finding information online is like my thing. It's my specialty. So once I got home, I spent the next few hours really looking into IMTA and Gia. Now, first thing, the reason that everyone gets 12 callbacks is because IMTA actually pays for fake Hollywood producers to show up and offer callbacks to people that they like so that IMTA can fluff up their numbers. And a lot of the people that sign with these companies and these agencies are signing completely fake deals. Now, that's not me saying that all the companies at IMTA are fake. There actually are agencies that will discover the next Ashton Kutchers and Jessica Biels, but there is only a slim minority. On the topic of minorities, it actually seems as though Gia and her accomplices target minorities that haven't been in the country very long. At my second audition, there were literally families of Latinos and Haitians that were brand new to America and were expecting that the American dream was going to be handed to them at this audition, when in reality, they were just going to be taken advantage of. And Gia is a smooth talker in English, and that is her second language. Gia's first language was French, and in Haiti, French is one of the most common languages. And so when these Haitian women had questions for Gia, she would try to convince them in English. But when that didn't work, she would calm them down by talking to them in their native tongue, French. I also happened to come across that there were special needs families that were also taken advantage of on the internet, where these people would send their special needs kid to Los Angeles. They would get hired by an agency, and if you visit the agency websites now, they don't exist. Now what's interesting also is Gia would constantly ask for our personal information, but she didn't give out anything besides her first name. And after a lot of digging, I found out what her real name is, which is Gloria Giacomoni. I also found her IMTA LinkedIn profile, which I will put in the description below. If you also look for IMTA, you'll find this 15-minute video of this 16-year-old girl that got a modeling contract from IMTA, and she does not express enough how IMTA is not a scam, IMTA is not a scam, IMTA is not a scam.
Honestly, it is not a scam. IMTA is not a scam. So everything I saw was a scam. Again, IMTA is not a scam. It is a legit thing.
Alongside the 16-year-old girl's videos, I can't find anything else about this girl, even though she's supposedly a model, and a lot of these other channels that do share information about IMTA are often dead ends, and people even in the comment section also lead to dead ends. There are people who also have been to IMTA and signed modeling contracts, but when you do visit their Instagram page, they have less than 200 followers. And I'm not saying that 200 followers isn't a lot. I'm just saying if you have a modeling contract, you should probably have more than that. Technically speaking, IMTA is actually not a scam because the convention does actually exist. It is actually in California or New York City. And you simply just pay the $5,995 to secure a spot, just as you would a summer camp or pay for your kids' ski lessons. So yes, this event does exist, but it's filled with nobodies on the stage and nobodies in the stands. If you watched this whole video, thank you so much. I hope that this was informative, and if any of you are dealing with Gia or IMTA, please just cut your losses and get out of there. Again, thank you. Like, comment, subscribe, and feel free to follow me on social media.